How do you smile when you know they're watching? My name's Dakota, a 34-year-old literature teacher, married to a man whose silence cuts deeper than his mother's disdain, sitting at her polished oak table for another suffocating Sunday lunch. The clink of cutlery against fine china fills the air, a brittle sound that drowns out any hope of real talk, while my mother-in-law's smile stretches too wide, her eyes glinting with something I can't name. My brother-in-law avoids my gaze, picking at his food, and my husband Mark eats like this is just another day, his fork scraping the plate with maddening calm. My phone buzzes on my lap, a silent jolt under the tablecloth. Unknown number. The words on the screen freeze my blood. Don't react. They're recording you. My pulse hammers, but I keep my face still, lips curled in a practiced smile, while my mind spins like a top. Who sent this? Why now? I'm no criminal, just a wife, a mother. A woman who's swallowed years of their passive-aggressive jabs without a word. My mother-in-law's voice from last month echoes in my head. Some people marry to escape their own lives. She said it with that syrupy smile, right in front of Mark, who never defends me. The air feels thick, the chandelier's light too harsh, glinting off a slightly crooked picture frame on the wall. Is that where the camera hides? Or maybe the wall socket, its cover just a touch off-center. I sip my wine, the glass cold against my fingers, and scan the room, my instincts screaming that this isn't just about a video. It's a trap, a setup, something bigger than their usual cruelty. My mother-in-law's always hated me for not coming from decent stock, as she puts it, her prejudice cloaked in fake warmth. I've sat through her barbs, poured more wine, crumbled inside, but never let it show. Now this message feels like a lifeline or a test. Someone in this house is either protecting me or playing me. I keep eating, my fork steady, but my eyes dart to every corner, every odd detail. A new vase on the shelf, too shiny, too perfect. If they're filming, what do they want? An outburst? A slip they can twist against me? As a teacher, I'm trained to read subtext, the silences between words, the gestures that betray intent. Right now, every nerve in me screams, I'm being hunted. But I won't give them what they want. I'll smile, nod, play the part of the perfect daughter-in-law, while my mind races to unravel their game. If they're recording, I'll record too. Not with cameras, not yet, but with every detail burned into my memory. This lunch isn't just a meal anymore. It's the start of a war I didn't choose. The text could mean I'm not alone, that someone's scared of how far this might go, or it's a trick to push me into paranoia. Either way, I'm Dakota, and I've survived their quiet cruelty for years. This time, I'll watch, I'll wait, and I'll fight back on my terms. The next day, I start looking closer at home. Mark's office door is always locked now, a new habit that prickles my skin. I notice a faint hum from the living room smoke detector, too steady for normal. My son, Danny, plays in the next room, his laughter a sharp contrast to the knot in my chest. I need to know who sent that message and why they're warning me now. After all I've endured in silence. I slip my phone into my pocket, the text still glowing in my mind, and decide to check the house tonight, when everyone's asleep. If they're building a case against me, I'll find it first. My fingers tremble as I clear the table, the plates clattering softly, and I catch my mother-in-law's gaze. Too long, too knowing. She thinks I'm breaking. She's wrong. I'm bending, but I won't snap. Not yet. That night, I waited for Mark to fall asleep. His snores rumbling through the walls like distant thunder. A sound that once lulled me but now grated on my nerves, heavy with the weight of unspoken secrets. He slept so peacefully, as if his conscience was clear, or maybe he'd carried his deceptions for so long, they felt like nothing at all. I tiptoed down the hallway, the wooden floors creaking faintly under my bare feet, cool and smooth in the dim moonlight filtering through the curtains. My heart pounded in my ears, a frantic rhythm that made my hands slick with sweat as I gripped the office doorknob. It turned easily, unlocked for once, and I slipped inside, closing the door behind me with a soft click that echoed too loudly in the silence. The room smelled of his cologne, sharp and woody, mixed with the faint ozone hum of the computer still glowing on the desk. The screensaver danced with abstract shapes, but I nudged the mouse and there it was, a folder named Backup DK. Blinking like a neon sign in the dark. DK, my initials. My stomach twisted as I clicked it open, my fingers trembling on the trackpad. Dozens of files spilled across the screen. Videos labeled with cold precision, dates, times, room codes. Kitchen 713, bathroom 625, bedroom 705. The horror sank in like ice water, chilling me to the core. They weren't just watching the lunch. They'd been invading every corner of my life for weeks, capturing moments I thought were mine alone. I clicked one at random, my breath shallow, and there I was on the screen, sitting in the living room, phone pressed to my ear, talking to my therapist. I don't know how much longer I can stay in this house. I feel like I'm being watched. The irony hit me like a slap, a bitter laugh bubbling up that I swallowed down, tears stinging my eyes. They had my breakdowns, my whispered confessions, my quiet sobs after arguments, archived like exhibits in a trial. With each click, the rage built, a slow burn turning into a wildfire. But it wasn't just raw footage. I noticed the edits, the clever cuts. In one clip, my words were rearranged, a shirt from a later day spliced into an earlier scene, twisting my frustration into something unhinged, unstable. They were crafting a story, a narrative, to prove I was unfit, maybe to take Danny away or force me out. Why? To erase me, to paint me as the problem so they could keep the perfect family image intact. I leaned back in the chair, the leather creaking under me, and rubbed my temples, the glow from the screen casting harsh shadows on the walls lined with his books and awards, trophies of a life I once admired but now saw as a facade. How long had this been going on? Had they caught me singing silly songs to Danny in the bath? Or worse, the nights I paced the bedroom, venting to myself about their cruelty? The violation felt physical, like fingers prying into my soul. But amid the fury, a clarity emerged. This was a crime, not just betrayal. I couldn't confront them yet. That would tip my hand. Instead, I plugged in a USB drive I'd grabbed from my bag, my movements quick and deliberate, copying everything. The originals, the edits, every damning file. The progress bar crawled, agonizingly slow, while I glanced at the door, expecting Mark to burst in any second. My mind raced ahead. I'd need backups, secure ones, maybe cloud storage under a fake name. And a lawyer, someone who dealt with this kind of invasion. As the copy finished, I ejected the drive, slipped it into my pocket, and shut down the computer, the fan whirring to a stop like a dying breath. Back upstairs, I slid into bed beside Mark, his arm flopping over me in sleep, a touch that now repulsed me. Something had shifted inside. The hurt was still there, raw and aching, but it was laced with steel now. This wasn't family drama anymore. It was war. The next morning, I acted normal, pouring coffee with steady hands, kissing Danny on the head as he ate his cereal, his little feet swinging under the table. But inside, I was plotting. I drove to the school where I taught, the familiar route blurring as thoughts churned. The principal's office smelled of old books and coffee, and I requested medical leave for acute stress, my voice calm despite the storm within. He nodded, concern etching his face, but approved it without question. I needed time to dissect those videos, to build my case. At a coffee shop downtown, away from prying eyes, I opened my laptop, the USB drive heavy in my hand. One by one, I watched, noting timestamps, mismatches, the deliberate distortions. Then I found the one that broke me. Danny in his room, talking to his grandmother. Her voice, saccharine and manipulative. "Soon your mommy's going to leave, and the house will be yours." My blood ran cold, hands clenching the table edge until my knuckles whitened. They were poisoning my boy's mind, using his innocence as a weapon. That was the line. They'd crossed it. Pain turned to resolve. I wouldn't wait to be destroyed. I'd strike first. I searched online for lawyers specializing in surveillance and abuse, my fingers flying over the keys, heart racing with purpose. By afternoon, I had an appointment set. This was my path now. Protect Danny, expose them, make them pay. But as I drove home, a new fear crept in. What if they knew I'd found out? The house loomed ahead, windows like eyes, and I wondered if another camera was watching even now. The house felt different that evening, its shadows longer, the familiar creaks of settling wood now sounding like whispers of accusation. I parked in the driveway, the engine ticking as it cooled, and sat there for a moment, staring at the front door as if it might swing open to reveal all their secrets. Danny's bike lay on the grass, a splash of red against the green, innocent and untouched by the poison seeping through our lives. I grabbed my bag, the USB drive a small weight in my pocket, more burdensome than any textbook I'd ever carried. Inside, Mark was in the kitchen, chopping vegetables with mechanical precision, the knife thudding against the cutting board. He glanced up, his eyes neutral, but I saw the flicker, something guarded like he was measuring my mood. "Long day?" he asked, voice casual, but it landed like a probe. I nodded, forcing a smile, and kissed his cheek, the stubble rough under my lips, a reminder of how distant we'd become. Danny ran in from the backyard, his hands dirty from playing, and hugged my legs, his warmth cutting through the chill in my veins. "Mommy, can we read tonight?" he asked, eyes bright. "Of course, sweetie," I replied, ruffling his hair, but my mind was already elsewhere, on the files, on the betrayal. After dinner, I excused myself to grade papers in the guest room, locking the door behind me, the click a small act of defiance. I pulled out my laptop, the screen's glow illuminating the dim space, and inserted the drive. The files loaded, a digital arsenal of my vulnerabilities. I created a new email account, anonymous and untraceable, and uploaded everything there, setting complex passwords that twisted like knots in my gut. Then, I bought an external hard drive online, rushed delivery, my credit card details entered with trembling fingers, another layer of protection. While waiting, I dove into the videos again, this time systematically. Notepad in hand, jotting down discrepancies, timestamps that didn't align. The bathroom clip showed me brushing my teeth, mundane, but spliced with audio from a heated argument days later, making me sound erratic. The bedroom one captured me undressing, a violation that made my skin crawl, edited to include whispers of doubt I'd muttered alone. But the worst was Danny's room. His grandmother's voice, low and coaxing, planting seeds of fear. "Word for word, soon your mommy's going to leave and the house will be yours." I paused the video, my chest tight, tears blurring the screen. How dare they use him like this, twisting his world to fit their agenda? He was only 7, his trust so fragile, and they were shattering it for what, control? The house? I wiped my eyes, the tissue rough, and kept going. Matching dates to my calendar, conversations to memories. By midnight, I had a timeline, proof of fabrication. This wasn't just spying, it was psychological warfare. The next day, the hard drive arrived, a sleek black box in plain packaging. I transferred the files again, hid one copy in my car's glove compartment under manuals, another in my locker at school. Paranoia? Maybe, but necessary. At work, I taught my classes on autopilot, quoting Shakespeare on betrayal, the better part of valor is discretion, while my thoughts plotted real discretion. After the bell, I met with the principal again, explaining the stress leave in more detail, my voice steady despite the lie. He sympathized, papers signed, and I left feeling unanchored but free. I drove to a public library across town, the building's stone facades solid and anonymous, far from their reach. Inside, the air smelled of old paper and quiet focus, rows of computers humming softly. I claimed a corner station, headphones on to block the world, and resumed my analysis. Hours blurred as I cross-referenced, finding patterns. Provocations timed with recordings, like Mark's sister accidentally mentioning my family's past during dinner, captured and clipped to amplify my reactions. My blood boiled, but I channeled it into notes, building a case like a lesson plan on irony. By late afternoon, I couldn't ignore it anymore. The manipulation of Danny was the core, a bid to declare me unfit, perhaps alienate me legally. That fueled my next step. I searched for law firms specializing in surveillance and emotional abuse, reviews glowing on my screen. One stood out, a woman-led practice with testimonials from similar cases. I called from the library phone, voice low, scheduling a consultation for tomorrow. "We'll review everything," the receptionist assured, her tone professional. Hanging up, I felt a spark of hope amid the dread. But as I packed up, a new worry gnawed. What if they were tracking my searches? I cleared the browser history, shut down the computer, and headed home, the sun dipping low, casting long shadows on the road. Dinner was tense, Mark asking about my day, his eyes searching mine. I lied smoothly, just grading, while Danny chattered about school. Bedtime came, and as I tucked him in, his small hand in mine, I whispered, "I love you more than anything." He smiled sleepily, unaware of the storm. Alone in bed, Mark snoring beside me, I stared at the ceiling, mind racing. Tomorrow the lawyer would see the videos, the edits, the cruelty. She'd said on the phone after a brief description, they dug their own grave. I clung to that, but fear lingered. What else had they planned? The house creaked. and I wondered if another camera blinked in the dark. Sleep came fitfully, dreams of eyes watching, but morning brought resolve. I dropped Danny at school, his backpack swinging, and drove to the firm, the building modern and unyielding. The lawyer, Elena, shook my hand firmly, her office lined with law books, air scented with coffee. I handed over the drive, explained everything, the text, the discoveries, the Sun video. She watched in silence, her expression hardening. "This is illegal surveillance, defamation, potential child endangerment," she said finally. "We'll start with a forensic review, file for protection orders, investigate the cameras." Relief washed over me, mixed with the weight of it all. We drafted documents, my signature bold on the page. Leaving, I felt armed, but the battle was just beginning. Homeward, I stopped at a park, sitting on a bench, leaves rustling overhead, and breathed. For the first time, I wasn't alone in this siege. The air in the house grew heavier, each creak of the floorboards a potential betrayal, as if the walls themselves were complicit in their scheme. Danny's laughter from the backyard, usually a balm, now felt like a fragile thread I had to protect at all costs. I moved through the morning routine with mechanical precision, pouring cereal, tying his shoelaces, my hands steady but my heart racing. Mark was home early, rummaging through drawers when he thought I wasn't looking. His casual just organizing a weak lie that hung in the air like damp fog. I caught his reflection in the kitchen window, eyes darting to my laptop bag, and my skin prickled. Did he know I'd found the files? That night, as I tucked Danny into bed, I checked his backpack for his homework and froze. A folded note, cursive and unsigned, slipped from between his notebooks. "You need to leave. They're going to use the boy." My hands shook, the paper crinkling as my grip tightened. This wasn't a warning, it was a blade, sharp and personal, aimed at my core. Someone inside this web of deceit was either scared or taunting me. I sat on Danny's bed, his breathing soft in the dark, and whispered, "Sweetheart, has anyone said odd things about Mommy?" He hesitated, eyes flicking to the door, then murmured, "Grandma said you want to take me away forever." My breath caught, rage and grief colliding. They were poisoning his mind, turning my son's trust into a weapon. I hugged him tight, promising it wasn't true, but his small frown lingered, a crack in his innocence I couldn't mend yet. The next morning, I drove to Elena's office, the note in a plastic bag, my evidence growing like a dark archive. She read it in silence, her jaw tight. "This is emotional manipulation," she said, adding an emergency clause to our filings, requesting a court suspension of my mother-in-law's contact with Danny. "If approved, you'll have breathing room." She promised. I nodded, clutching the bag, but the weight of their cruelty pressed harder. Back home, tension thickened. Mark's early returns, his rifling through my desk, his attempt to log into my laptop one night, caught in the window's reflection. I said nothing, my silence my shield. Then, Saturday morning, I woke to find my car scratched, words like crazy and bad mom scrawled in white paint across the doors. Danny saw it first, standing frozen on the sidewalk, his eyes wide with confusion. "Someone sad did this," I told him, kneeling, my voice calm while my blood boiled. I knew it was her, my mother-in-law, Agnes, her desperation reeking of impunity. I called the police, who took photos but warned proof was tricky without street cameras. I stayed quiet, because I'd prepared for this. Days earlier, I'd installed a micro camera by the garage, hidden in the eaves, and that night, it caught Agnes in a black coat, paint can in hand, defacing my car. Her face, clear under the streetlight, was a gift to my case. Elena watched the footage, her lips curling slightly. "Now we've got her," she said, attaching it to a restraining order request to keep Agnes away from me and the house. The court moved fast, granting it within days, and I smiled, not from spite, but relief. Danny was safer, at least for now. But the harassment didn't stop. A note appeared under my windshield wiper at the grocery store. "You're making this worse." No signature, but the cursive matched. I added it to the evidence pile, my hands steady but my mind racing. What else were they planning? Mark grew edgier, his questions sharper. "Why is Danny so quiet? Are you feeling okay?" Lines I now recognized as bait, recorded somewhere to twist later. I kept up my act, cooking dinners, reading to Danny, but each night I checked locks, scanned for new devices. One evening, as I locked the back door, I noticed the spare key slot empty. Keys Agnes once had access to. My stomach dropped. Had they made copies? I changed every lock the next day. The the locksmith's drill a loud promise of control. At school, Danny's teacher reported he seemed withdrawn, asking about Grandma's stories. I requested they monitor his interactions, no visitors without my approval. The school complied, and I felt a flicker of power, but it was fleeting. Agnes's voice still echoed in my head, her words to Danny a venom I couldn't purge. Elena filed more documents, pushing for a forensic audit of the videos, and the judge approved, citing credible evidence of manipulation. Each legal win was a brick in my wall, but the fear lingered. What if they turned to Danny next? Not just with words, but something worse. I started sleeping with my phone under my pillow, the lawyer's number on speed dial, and checked on Danny hourly, his small chest rising and falling in the moonlight. The house felt like a fortress under siege, but I was no longer just defending. I was arming myself. One night, as I reviewed the garage footage again, I noticed a shadow near the gate, too brief to identify. My heart skipped, but I saved the clip. They thought I'd break, but every move they made only sharpened my resolve. I wasn't the fragile wife anymore. I was a mother with a mission, and they'd underestimated me. The court date loomed, and I knew the next strike would come soon, maybe not from Agnes, but from Mark, or someone else in their web. I was ready, my evidence locked tight, my plan taking shape. They wanted me gone, but I'd make them regret ever pointing a camera at me. The days blurred into a tense rhythm, each one a step deeper into the labyrinth they'd built around me. The house's quiet now punctuated by the distant ring of my phone or the soft beep of security alerts I'd set up on my devices. Danny's questions grew more frequent. Why can't Grandma visit? His voice small and confused, tugging at my heart like invisible strings. I explained as gently as I could, framing it as grown-up stuff, but inside, the guilt gnawed. A reminder that their poison had already seeped in. Mark's behavior shifted too, more erratic, his phone glued to his hand, whispers into calls when he thought I was out of earshot. One evening, I found a crumpled paper in his jacket pocket while doing laundry, the scent of his cologne still clinging to the fabric. A quote from a custody lawyer, specializing in full parental rights. My breath hitched, the paper crumpling in my fist. He was planning to take Danny, to strip me away completely. But before I could confront him, something unexpected pierced the fog. A text from his sister, Lisa, the one who'd always stayed neutral, almost invisible in family gatherings. Can we meet? Alone. Important. My fingers hovered over the reply, suspicion warring with curiosity. Lisa had never picked sides, her presence at lunches polite but distant, like a shadow on the wall. I agreed, suggesting a quiet cafe downtown, away from prying eyes, the kind of place with worn booths and the hum of anonymous conversations. The cafe smelled of fresh coffee and cinnamon, the steam rising from mugs like fleeting ghosts. Lisa arrived early, her face pale, hands twisting a napkin as she sat across from me, the wooden table scarred from years of use. She looked older than her 32 years, lines of worry etching her forehead. "Dakota, I can't hold this in anymore," she said, her voice trembling, eyes darting to the door as if expecting interruption. I stayed silent, my coffee cooling untouched, letting her words spill out. She confessed they'd been planning since last year. The cameras, the provocations, all of it. Her guilt was palpable, a heavy thing she carried like a stone. From her purse, she pulled a folded printout, an email forwarded from Agnes, titled "Plan for if Dakota Snaps." The words blurred at first, but as I read, fury ignited anew. Instructions for camera placements, phrases to bait me, "You're not okay," "Forgetting things again," designed to push me toward a breakdown, all while recording. Lisa admitted she hadn't agreed but feared being cut off, losing the financial scraps Agnes doled out. Seeing them drag Danny in, manipulating a child, had broken her. "Do what you want with this," she said, sliding a flash drive across the table, "just keep me out." My hands shook as I took it, the small device cold and heavy with truth. This wasn't just evidence, it was premeditation, a blueprint of their cruelty. I drove straight to Elena's office, the city streets a blur of lights and horns, my mind reeling from the depth of their scheme. Elena scanned the email, her expression turning steely. "This elevates everything: defamation, illegal surveillance, emotional abuse, attempted fraud on the court." She drafted a new motion on the spot, incorporating the drive's contents, more emails, timelines, even notes on editing software. We filed immediately, requesting no contact orders for Mark and Agnes, citing the conspiracy. The judge reviewed it swiftly, approving within 72 hours, the notification buzzing on my phone like a victory chime. Legally, they couldn't approach me or Danny, a barrier I'd built brick by brick, but the rage simmered. Colder now, a calculated fire. With this, my plan evolved, no longer just defense, but exposure. I decided to proceed with the birthday dinner I'd been mulling, a staged reconciliation to unmask them all. I resent invitations via text, my words sweet and inviting, pretending fences could mend. They confirmed, hypocrites all, their replies laced with false warmth. I rented a venue, a cozy hall with dim lights and long tables, arranged flowers and soft music, an illusion of peace. Hired a tech for the projector, loaded the videos, the originals, side by side with edits, the emails projected large. The morning of, an anonymous text arrived. Don't trust anyone today, not even smiles. I hesitated, phone in hand, wondering if it was Lisa or another insider. But I was committed, my outfit simple, my resolve ironclad. The dinner approached, but first I fortified my home. New alarms on Windows, a panic button app on my phone, even a consultation with a private investigator Elena recommended. His office sparse but reassuring. He traced the note's paper to a brand Agnes favored, adding another layer to our case. Danny stayed with a trusted friend that weekend, his giggles over the phone a reminder of why I fought. Mark eyed me suspiciously at breakfast, his coffee mug halfway to his lips. This dinner, your idea? I nodded, smiling. Time to heal. He grunted, but I saw the unease. As I prepared reviewing the presentation on my laptop, the flash drive's files open, I added new clips. Agnes's vandalism, the custody quote. This wasn't revenge, it was truth, raw and undeniable. The venue set up that afternoon, the projector humming to life, test footage flickering on the wall. Nerves twisted my stomach, but I breathed deep, the air scented with rented linens. They thought they'd corner me, but I held the script now. Family arrived in waves, hugs stiff, compliments forced. Agnes brought flowers, her smile a mask. As we sat, small talk buzzing like flies, I signaled the tech. Lights dimmed, the screen glowed, and silence fell heavy. The first image, me reading to Danny, innocent. Then audio, Agnes's voice, she'll destroy herself. Just push. Gasps rippled. Side-by-side videos followed. Manipulations exposed, my cry over my father's letter twisted into madness. Faces shifted, discomfort turning to shock. Agnes slammed the table. You set this up? Her husband rose, voice booming. You did, Agnes. I bought the camera, but not for the child. Chaos erupted, Mark lunging for the projector, stopped by the tech. The final clip. Mark's call, push until she loses custody. Tears from relatives, and uncles storming out, no one defended them. I stood, voice steady. I just removed your masks. Walking out, the cool night air hit me, relief flooding in. My phone buzzed, court update. Temporary full custody granted, no contact extended. In the car I exhaled, the engine purring to life, but a white envelope on the passenger seat caught my eye. No address, inside a photo of me sleeping, recent, book beside me. Back. You don't know what I'm capable of. Fear surged, but I sealed it, called Elena. Evidence, she said. Police tomorrow. The drive home, shadows dancing. I knew the war wasn't over. The dinner invitations went out like bait, my texts dripping with false warmth, promising a night to heal old wounds, as I typed each one with steady hands, the phone screen glowing in the dark of my bedroom. Mark raised an eyebrow when I mentioned the plan, his fork pausing over dinner, but he nodded, suspecting nothing, his silence as complicit as ever. Agnes confirmed with a saccharine reply. Looking forward to celebrating you, dear, and the hypocrisy burned in my chest like acid. I rented a small venue downtown, a quaint hall with wooden beams and soft lighting, the kind of place that screamed family unity, a perfect stage for their unraveling. I hired a tech, a quiet man named Sam who tested the projector with a nod, the hum of the machine blending with the clink of glasses I arranged on tables draped in white. The flash drive from Lisa sat heavy in my purse, loaded with originals and edits, side by side to expose their lies, plus the garage footage of Agnes's vandalism and her damning emails. I added flowers to the tables, their petals too bright against the weight of my intent, and chose a playlist of gentle piano, an illusion of peace. Danny stayed with a friend, his weekend sleepover planned to shield him from what was coming. As I dressed that morning, simple black dress, hair pulled back, I caught my reflection in the mirror. Eyes sharp, No longer the crumbling wife, but a woman wielding truth like a blade. They arrived in waves, faces painted with rehearsed smiles, hugs stiff as cardboard. Agnes swept in with a bouquet of lilies, her perfume cloying, pressing them into my hands with a murmured, "You're so strong, Dakota." I thanked her, my lips curling just enough, and guided them to seats, the air thick with small talk and the scent of catered rosemary chicken. Mark sat beside me, his hand brushing mine, a gesture that once warmed me but now felt like a stranger's touch. Lisa avoided my gaze, her presence a quiet apology, while others, uncles, cousins, chatted about weather and jobs, oblivious to the bomb ticking in my purse. I signaled Sam as dessert was served, the clatter of spoons fading as the lights dimmed, the projector's glow cutting through the room. Silence fell, heavy as a curtain, and the screen flickered to life. The first image was me reading to Danny, his head on my shoulder, a moment so pure it stung. Then audio. Agnes's voice, cold and calculated, "She'll destroy herself. Just give her a push." Gasps rippled, forks frozen midair. Side-by-side footage followed, my edited meltdown. Next to the original, where I wept softly over my father's old letter, the manipulation glaring. Another clip showed Mark's voice, clipped from a call, "Push her until she loses custody." Then we get the house. A cousin's sob broke the quiet, and Uncle stood and left without a word. Agnes slammed her hand on the table, her voice shrill, "You set this up?" Her husband, usually silent, rose, his face red. "You set it up, Agnes. I got the first camera, but I never agreed to hurt the boy." The room spun into chaos, relatives whispering, some filming on phones. Mark lunged for the tech booth, but Sam blocked him, voice calm, "There's one more." I nodded, and the vandalism footage played, Agnes with the paint can defacing my car. Faces turned, eyes wide, no one defending her now. Lisa's head hung low, her hands clasped tight. I stood, voice steady. "I didn't set this up. I just took off your masks. You did the rest." I walked out, their stunned silence trailing me, the cool night air hitting my face like a release. In the car, my phone buzzed. A court notification. Temporary full custody of Danny granted, no contact orders extended for Mark and Agnes. Relief surged, but as I started the engine, a white envelope on the dashboard stopped me cold. No address, just a photo inside, me asleep, book fallen beside me, taken 2 nights ago. Handwritten on the back, "You still don't know what I'm capable of." My hands shook, the paper crinkling, fear coiling like a snake. Someone had been in my home, past my locks, my alarms. I called Elena from the parking lot, voice low. Another photo, recent. She was blunt. "Bag it, police tomorrow, don't stay there tonight." I drove to a hotel, Danny safe with his friend, and checked in under a false name, the room's sterile quiet a stark contrast to my racing pulse. The photo meant they weren't done. Mark, Agnes, or someone else in their web. I checked the locks, the windows, the bathroom mirror, paranoia creeping in. Sleep didn't come. I sat on the stiff bed, clutching my phone, replaying the dinner's fallout. The apologies from cousins, the uncle's exit, Agnes's frozen stare. They'd crumbled, but this photo was a reminder. Exposure hadn't ended it. I texted Elena the image, sealed it in a hotel baggie, and planned the police visit. Morning light crept through the curtains, gray and thin, but I felt a shift. Not just fear, but defiance. They wanted me unstable, but every threat sharpened my edges. I drove to the station at dawn, the photo in hand, and filed for trespassing and stalking. The officer's pen scratched as he noted the details, warning proof was hard without more. I nodded, knowing my camera logs might catch something new. Back home, I scanned every corner, lamps, vents, picture frames, finding nothing, but the violation lingered, a ghost in every shadow. Danny returned that afternoon, his hug grounding me, and I vowed to keep him safe, no matter who was still watching. The war wasn't over, but I'd won this battle, and they'd regret underestimating me. The hotel room's anonymity wrapped around me like a thin blanket, the hum of the air conditioner a constant reminder that safety was fleeting, my mind replaying the photo's intrusion over and over. I barely slept, the bed's unfamiliar firmness jabbing at my back, dreams fragmented with eyes and shadows. Morning came gray and relentless. I bagged the photo, drove to the police station, the envelope crinkling in my grip as I handed it over. The officer's questions were routine, his notepad filling with my words, but his warning echoed. Hard to trace without fingerprints. I left with a report number, a scrap of paper that felt insignificant against the threat. Elena filed for a full perimeter restriction, house and street under electronic monitoring, the judge granting it swiftly, an alert system now tied to my phone. But peace didn't follow. The mental toll gnawed, nights with lights on, a knife under my pillow, every creak jolting me awake. They wanted me broken, unstable, but desperation fueled me instead. Mark played victim online, posting old photos with Danny, captions like absent father due to alienation, garnering sympathy from strangers blind to his sins. Attacks came, messages calling me cruel, my inbox a battlefield. I armored up, creating an anonymous account, posting videos with dates and context, no attacks, just facts. Views climbed from 10 to thousands, local news picking up the story as family manipulation gone wrong. Support flooded in from women, mothers sharing similar horrors, my voice amplifying. One night, a call shattered the quiet, unknown number, voice disguised and metallic. "You're exposing too much. We're not the only ones watching." The line died, my blood icing. It wasn't Mark or Agnes, too detached, too professional. Who else had stakes? The most viral video was Mark's custody plot with his lawyer, fallout exploding on social media. A message from a woman named Sarah. "He did this to me years ago." No one believed. My heart raced. A pattern? I asked Alina to dig into Mark's records. We found a dropped custody case from his past. Tactics identical, recordings, discrediting. Sarah agreed to meet, a park bench under overcast skies, her story mirroring mine. Isolated, filmed, helped by a family friend who covered it up. That friend? Mark's law firm partner, Robert, influential and untouchable. It clicked, Robert's name on our documents, controlling assets. This was a network, protecting men like Mark, silencing women. I gathered more. Sarah's permission for her files, screenshots, old clips. Elena contacted the Bar Association, filing complaints for ethics violations. If it stuck, Robert would lose his license, Mark his job. Threats persisted. A parked car across the street, dark windows, no plate, returning daily. Police patrols scared it off, but I upgraded security, high-def cameras, smart alarms linked to a 24/7 center. Danny asked about the new codes, and I said to keep the past away. His school tightened protocols, no unauthorized pickups. I wasn't panicking. I was adapting, stronger. The charity event loomed. Mark and Robert speaking on family values. Perfect irony. I prepared an envelope. Recordings, contracts, Sarah's evidence. The hall buzzed with suits and smiles, champagne flutes clinking. They took the stage, preaching unity, hypocrisy thick. I waited till applause faded, then approached the AV tech, flash drive in hand. "Play this on my signal." I stepped up, mic in grip, voice calm. Everyone deserves the real legacy. The room hushed, footage rolling, videos, documents, high def. Mark bolted for the booth, security halting him. Robert paled, hand shielding his face. Attendees filmed, some fleeing. I left without a backward glance, Elena waiting outside. You did what others couldn't. Next day, suspensions hit, investigations opened, sponsors fled. The house sale to Megan Lang, a name on the contract dated days prior, surfaced in an envelope delivery. Megan unknown but tied to Mark. Searching records, her Instagram deactivated, but one photo, her on Mark's lap in college, captioned my first home. She was no stranger, his old flame, name changed after fraud charges. The contract was symbolic, a message of erasure. I filed to annul it, submitting their history, her involvement in threats. Court agreed, house under review. Megan vanished, threats quieted, but trust and silence waned. A voicemail, child's voice saying, "It's her." Danny's, from a private moment. I checked devices, found nothing, but knew it was real. Police deemed it possible fake, but I pushed on, documenting everything, turning pain into a written record for Danny, scars and words. The wound healed, but the skin toughened. The voicemail echoed in my mind like a distant thunderclap, Danny's voice twisted into a threat, a reminder that privacy was an illusion they'd shattered long ago. I played it again, the 3 seconds of a 4. It's her chilling me, too authentic to be fake, pulled from some stolen moment. I rushed through the house, checking every device, phones, tablets, even Danny's toys, for bugs, my hands frantic, sweat beading on my forehead. Nothing surfaced, but doubt lingered, a shadow in every corner. Police dismissed it as possibly fabricated, their report another file in my growing stack, but I knew better. That night, as I tucked Danny in, his eyes heavy with sleep, I noticed a faint blue glow from the lampshade beside my bed. My breath caught, heart pounding as I approached, the light barely visible, winking like a malevolent eye. I unscrewed the bulb, fingers trembling, And there it was, a micro camera nestled in the metal frame, lens aimed at the bed. My knees buckled, the device tiny but devastating, proof they'd breached my sanctuary again, despite orders, alarms, everything. How? A spare key? A window left ajar? The violation hit like a wave, nausea rising as I imagined them watching me sleep, vulnerable. I called the police immediately, voice steady through the panic, and they arrived with lights flashing, neighbors peeking from curtains. They collected the camera, dusted for prints, their questions probing but professional. Based on the model, they traced the signal to a rental apartment under Megan Lang's name, paid by a shell company linked to Robert. It all connected. Mark's past flame, his partner's cover-up, a web of obsession. The apartment raid uncovered horrors. Notes on my routine, printed photos of me and Danny, equipment for more surveillance. It was sick, methodical, a shrine to their control. Megan was arrested in a dawn swoop, handcuffs clicking as she protested innocence. Robert followed, his office searched, files exposing years of similar schemes. Mark was indicted as an accomplice, his denials crumbling under evidence. The media frenzy turned my story national, headlines screaming of stalking and manipulation. What began as family betrayal, now a scandal of legal abuse. I watched their faces on the news, not triumphant but weary, their empires toppling. With charges filed, stalking, order violations, privacy invasion, child endangerment, the judge wasted no time. Search warrants flew, assets frozen, the house sale to Megan annulled for fraud, title reverting to judicial hold until divorce finalized. Full custody was mine, no contact permanent. But victory tasted bittersweet. The scars ran deep. I moved us to a new home in a smaller town, a cozy cul-de-sac with blooming gardens and kind neighbors, the air fresh with possibility. Danny adapted quickly, his laughter returning, school friends filling our days. I took a new teaching job, literature classes where I wove tales of resilience, my voice stronger. No more threats arrived, no suspicious cars, no envelopes. Nights were peaceful, knife retired from under my pillow. Looking in the mirror, I saw a survivor, lines of experience etching strength, not defeat. I'd warred with my family and emerged with justice, their heads on platters metaphorically. Mark alone in a distant city, new woman gone, Agnes sued for harassment, Robert delivering food, license revoked, irony at its finest. Yet, wariness lingered, a quiet companion. That last message, the house photo with you won, but this never ends, haunted me. I updated reports, tightened security, but knew people like them retreated, not surrendered. Writing my story became therapy, pages filling with details for Danny, a legacy of truth. He knew basics now, age-appropriate, his hugs tighter. If they ever resurfaced, I'd be ready. Stronger, unbreakable. Revenge wasn't destruction, it was rebirth from ruins, a life without fear's shadow. As the sun dips below the horizon in our new town, casting a soft golden glow through the kitchen window, I watch Danny play in the yard, his giggles floating on the breeze like gentle notes of a lullaby. The days stretch longer now, filled with simple joys, baking cookies together, reading stories under a blanket fort, walking hand in hand to the park where flowers bloom unchecked. I've learned to breathe deeply, to let the tension uncoil from my shoulders, the constant vigilance fading into a quiet awareness rather than sharp paranoia. The house feels like a true home, walls echoing with our laughter instead of whispers of deceit. Danny sleeps soundly, his dreams unburdened, and I find peace in the stillness. The stars twinkling outside like distant guardians. The scars remain, faint lines on my heart, but they've woven into a tapestry of strength, a reminder that from betrayal blooms resilience. I no longer look over my shoulder with every step, but cherish the calm, the freedom earned through fire. And as night envelops us, soft and forgiving, I whisper to the quiet room, we've made it through, the words dissolving into the air like a promise kept.